Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Thought Leader Friday. Bill Middleton here with my illustrious business partner, Debbie LaRiviere. Say hi to him, Debbie.
Hello, good to see you.
We're excited to be here today with Sheena Saydam. And Sheena, let's just dive right in. Tell them who you are and a little bit about your business. And we're going to cover a lot of great information with you today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. You guys are amazing. So I have a small team here in the DC metro area. I've been in real estate for about 13 years. We are the highest producing team in our brokerage here in the DC metro area. We work entirely by referral. We've never bought a lead. We've never made a cold call, and we're really focused on giving back to the community locally, but we're also building a school for girls in Kenya. So that's where we are.
Well, there's going to be a lot of fun stuff for us to unpack today, Sheena. First of all, thanks for being with us again. You spoke with our board of advisors group not quite 2 months ago and shared a lot of really valuable information with them. And I know both from your team building and your team experience, and then also your philanthropy-based approach, there's going to be a lot of good stuff for us to get together on. Debbie, how about you hit lead off with some of your questions for Sheena, please, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, hi Sheena. So good to see you again. So we've been working with our clients based on some of our conversations, and a lot of our clients, as well as outside sources, are interested in how do I get started? So you're doing a lot of things, and they'll learn all about the amazing things you're doing throughout this interview today. How do we get started? Like, let's peel it way back. Philanthropy is something I want to get involved in, or I'm already doing, but I'm afraid to tell people about it because they might feel like it's, oh, look at me. So tell us a little bit about how to get started and walk us through some action plans for that.
Yeah, sure. And I think, like with anything that's kind of different or new to you, or it's about mindset, right? You have to spend some time thinking about, what is the reason for me doing this? Because if you're going to dive in, we're looking for that consistency. We're looking for, being able to inspire an entire team to get there. You're looking to inspire clients. So if you are going to take those steps, you've got to know that this is right for you. I like to spend some time writing my thoughts out, especially if you have some sort of limiting beliefs or just, your questions, and then spending some time addressing those things. And hopefully I can address some of those limiting beliefs just starting out right here, because I know we talked about that before the call. So I have found that when people think about this philanthropy based, a lot of times people will say, well, I give here and there, but I don't tell anybody because I don't want to, seem like I'm showing off or trying to, sell people on my business, trying to sell them on my business because I'm charitable. And I totally get that. And let me tell you, from somebody who has helped drill wells to bring clean water to over 20,000 people. We've given over $500,000 away. We have raised millions of dollars. We are now building a school for girls thousands of miles away in rural Kenya. If you are not telling people what you're doing, you are not allowing others to live their fullest potential, their lives of purpose, because you have this power. All of us have networks, and my advice to you is to leverage your network for good. When you go to pass away, you're not going to be thinking about all the homes that you sold. I mean, that's a great thing, right? Like, we all like to sell homes, and money is good for the good it can do, but it's about what you left here, what was lasting, right? So that's how I like to think about it. And that helps to get me up in the morning and inspired and say, yes, what I am doing is important. So first is just getting your mindset right about that. And I have a lot of little stories that we probably don't have time for today, but of clients who have reached out to me saying, I'm doing this thing for my community, and the only reason that I thought to do it is because we saw you all doing it. So you have the power, use it for good. So getting started, I think spending some time thinking about what matters to you. I've had people write me a check and say, I shared my story, and they gave me a check and said, thanks for giving me the opportunity to change the thing that I complain about all the time. Right. So what kind of pulls at you, right? What do you go out in the world or look at the newspaper and you're like, oh, I can't believe these people are doing this, or I can't believe this is the situation. Well, you might have the power to change that. So thinking about things that sort of upset you, or things that kind of pull at your heartstrings, right? And for a lot of us, it's like, gosh, that's a lot of things. I think about homeless. I think about veterans. I think about, little children who are not getting an education. There are a plethora of issues. Just find one or two that really matter to you. And my suggestion, if we're going to start small, is to go out into your community and see who's already doing the work. See who's already doing the work. You don't need to go and start a nonprofit. I haven't started a nonprofit. There are some people who do that. I have my reasons for why I will never do that. But to start small, go and find the nonprofit that is already doing the work. Take some time to study them, meet the people there, and just come with an open mindset and curiosity. Understand what they're doing. Understand how you could leverage your current network and potential network to help them. And there's a lot of avenues for that, right? Nonprofits always need money. Sure. Okay. So we know that piece. Is there an opportunity for in-kind donation? Those are things that, like, items that you can physically donate. A lot of people do feel uncomfortable with giving their money to charity, which I like to address that in my post, but we'll save that for later. But giving things, you can sometimes get people to spend $500 on in-kind donations and they won't give $20 to a charity. So it is what it is. We're going to work with what we've got, right? And that would be an awesome donation, $500 of in-kind. So there's an opportunity for that. There might be volunteer opportunities. It might be at the grassroots level. People are showing up, making sandwiches. Maybe they're collecting items for the community, or it could be at a level where they're serving on the board. So if you have some really people who have specialties, law, accounting, social media, fundraising, these are the kind of people that boards are always looking for. So ask this nonprofit, what do you need help with? And then you could go back and go, okay, who in my community might be able to assist with this? And that's where I would begin.
That's great. I love that. And I like giving the options of how to address it, right? Because so many people think, oh, I need to collect money. But like you said, people will go on Amazon to your wish list, click one of all the things that you're asking for and send those over to your office versus writing you a check, because they're like, is she really putting this to the charity? And so I love that. I love that. Thank you.
And I will tell you, when you do it enough, yes, people will just send you money on Venmo. And so I'm always like updating. I get $10, I get $15. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm telling them how much, because that's, even to this day, that's still a concern. But I think I've got it to the point where people say, like, you don't need to let me know. And I mean, during COVID, I'll give you an example. We had discovered that the largest slum in Africa, it's called Kibera, 1 million people live there. They were telling us, clean your hands. All of us, all over the world, clean your hands, use hand sanitizer. Well, what do you do when you can't afford hand sanitizer and there's no water? There's no public water. And so we raised $22,000 over Facebook simply by telling story after story of what was going on in this slum, to haul water into the slum. We actually had trucks full of water going in so people could wash their hands, so they could drink, so that they could bathe. So, I think there is a lot of power. I think we were going to talk about it, social media at some point, but when you are transparent about what you were doing and you're able to tell those stories and you're able to really talk about the need, for me, I don't see it as coming off as, trying to sell your business, or it's not discomforting to people. It's not off-putting to people. People want to help. When they see these stories, you start to pull at their heartstrings. You start to build this base of people who are like, God, now I have something I can wake up to and I can give to, and she's going to show me the impact of what my donation has done.
Yeah, and I love what you say there about the story. It's like, go research the organization and know the story to share the story. So then it's also not, look at me, I'm doing this thing over here. It's the story of actually what's happening and then how that's being helped with different avenues for people to get involved. And what else I find really interesting is, not once have you said, do you need to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? Right? It is 100% about the passion you have around the organization, where they're seeing you as that person. And by the way, I'm in real estate. Be it a logo or a shirt that you're wearing or something, but it's not that. It's not the, hey, yeah, we're doing this, and if you need to sell a home, give us a call. So I love that.
Because here's the thing, you're attracting people who are like-minded, and they will just reach out. People reach out to me on Nextdoor, on Facebook, on email. Hey, I know there's a lot of real estate agents. My neighborhood has 40 licensed agents. There are 6 agents who live within 3 blocks of me who sell 200 homes or more a year. But people reach out to us because we have this unique value proposition. So I think going back to something you had said earlier on kind of starting out, it is just thinking about how you are with your clients, trying to be sort of relational as opposed to transactional. That is how, when you're starting out, especially, you should be approaching these charities. In order to get those stories, you need to really get to know what these people are doing and who they're serving and what the impact is, right? If you are going to be communicating that to your clients, your potential clients, you need to really understand, what does $20 do? What does this box of tampons mean for a young girl? So the more that you can get into that and really sit in that for a little bit, and maybe take some time to draft some content. They may have content on their Instagram and Facebook that makes it really easy, but not, especially nonprofits don't always have that capacity. So it is up to you to kind of create those stories, maybe kind of parallel that with your own life of why this is important to you or important to your team. So getting in there and really understanding those stories is going to be pivotal for you to start bringing your people in. Hey guys, as a team, we have decided that we are going to make a commitment here, and we're going to offer various opportunities for you to help out. We're just letting you know, maybe use a good photo. And that's where it begins, making that announcement, making that commitment. In the background, figuring out what that commitment looks like. Is it a month? Is it 3 months? Is it a year? What is the impact that you want to make? And I always tell people, make sure that whenever you are asking people for things, they understand the tangible benefit, right? Or even if you are writing a check, you're like, I'm going to start out with a $1,000 or a $10,000 donation. And that is going to mean that 5 people will be able to have a roof over their heads during the winter, right? So saying exactly what their money means. If you donate $20, that means that a family can eat for a week. So making sure that you do that is going to be really pivotal.
Yeah, I love that articulation. Bill, I'll turn it back over to you. What questions do you have for Sheena?
Well, just sticking with the charitable work, Sheena, that you and your team have been doing. I know you just got back from a couple of weeks in Kenya. So tell us what you were up to out there, please.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, it's funny. I felt like it was many weeks. It was one day of travel, 5 days in Kenya, and then I traveled 1 day back. It felt like a long time, and I've been posting. So, oh my gosh, it was life-changing. It was life-changing. I now have my Renda School bracelet. They gave me all these bracelets. It's such an interesting place. I came back very much changed. I started out the first day, I went into that slum, Kibera, where most tourists don't go near, or they just stand on top and take a picture of all these small 10 by 10 foot corrugated metal homes. Like, that's where people live. There's no electricity, there's no sewer, there's no electric. There's just no public support. I went into a few of the little schools there, decrepit, but everyone is smiling. Everyone is excited that teachers actually show up and teach. There's often no light where these kids are teaching. They're just hoping that there's enough sunlight that they can teach. The children speak Swahili, English, and their tribal language. They speak 3 languages. They're doing complex math without calculators. I mean, they're so focused on education, and even in abject poverty. So that was very, I think before I went there, I thought, God, am I just going to have my heart broken and feel like I just need to help everybody? And I think there's a certain amount of pride, so you, with the people there, they don't feel like someone needs to come and pity them. So you don't in return feel that way. So that was interesting. Then we moved on to Kisii, Kenya, which is where we drilled a well. And we did that in honor of one of our past agents who passed away, and we were able to share that with folks. And right now they're going through a pretty serious drought where it would be otherwise impossible to have any water. So that has, and I got to meet all of the people who, not all the people, but some of the villagers who are utilizing the water, including elderly who would have had to walk many miles to go maybe get water, maybe there wouldn't be any water, or it would be dirty. And we spoke to them and put it on video, and we were able to put it on social media and show people like, this is what we're about. I'm actually sitting here in Kenya with water that you helped fund. And then we took a motorcycle ride to the school that we're building, and we're able to show people what that looked like. And the entire time I was in Kenya, agent referral partners and past clients were Venmoing me money. I didn't ask anybody for anything, but they're like, oh my God, I have to support this. I have to make this a part of my business. And I want you to help these people. And I want to come with you next year. So it was pretty powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. How did you made a passing comment a second ago that, at paraphrasing, that the experience that you just had changed you in some way. If you were to tell us a little bit more about that, what would you say? Yeah, I think, people will often say to me, oh my gosh, Sheena, you have the biggest heart. And I always felt like, I always felt a little bit uncomfortable with that, because I don't, for whatever reason, I just don't have a lot of, I don't get very emotional. And I don't know, military dad and German mother. I don't cry a lot. People always joke, you have no tear ducts. I have this like sense of duty, but Kenya broke me. I was like crying under my sunglasses all the time with people's gratitude for what we had done. And I kept saying to these people, and I know they didn't understand. I didn't understand them. They didn't understand me, not in terms of language. They were speaking English to me, but they would say, you've changed our lives. You've brought us water. These 80-year-old women, they're like, I no longer have to walk 3 miles when I feel like I just want to lay here in bed because everything hurts. There's no healthcare, right? So they don't even have ibuprofen. So they're like, I'm laying in bed. Now I can just, if I need a sip of water, if I need something to cook with or to clean myself, I just walk outside and I turn on my tap and there is clean water that I can use. And I didn't really understand what we had done over these last 6 years until I spoke with them. And they told me how much it had changed them. And I thought, man, like a well there is about $20,000. And I just think, God, that was just money. That was just some money. And for them, they allowed us the ability to change their lives and make their lives easier. So I think they got the much better end of that trade because they gave us purpose. What that trip really did was connect me to my purpose. I was just funding these projects. I felt good about it, but not until I went there did I really feel something. And that really got me energized for the rest of the year. Yeah. I love it. It's great. Thanks, Sheena.
So Sheena, tell us about the team. I know you said you have a small but mighty team. Tell us a little bit about your team, how you built your team, and how your team gets involved with the different philanthropic activities that you're doing. I know you've shared with us in the past that they have their own passions as well. So take us a walk, give us a walk through a day in the life of Sheena's team.
Sure. Well, it is definitely a little bit different. And I think I really designed a team that kind of fit my life and what I wanted and what I believe other people want. So it began to attract the kind of people who I think would fit well into our culture. It wasn't that strategic though. When we started out, it was just me as a solo agent. I didn't know anything about teams back then, but a few years in, I realized how much I loathed paperwork. Our contracts here in the DC metro area, we have 10 different versions. They're as long as 74 pages. So it's a lot. And I am not a detail-oriented person, except when my high D comes in. But I went to look for a TC and I was looking for a virtual TC. And I came across this company who supposedly trained transaction coordinators. And they connected me with this woman named Callie. She was young. She'd been in the business much longer than I had been. She was in North Carolina at the time, Army spouse. And she was working my contracts. This company did us dirty. And so by the end of our contract, at the end of the year, Callie left, I left, and we just joined forces. So she came on still as my part-time executive assistant / TC. And from there, things really got started because I could start to be more intentional about getting business while she was handling all the things that I really wasn't good at and didn't like to do. After that, hired another admin listings manager, and then hired my first agent, who happened to be my husband. And then after a while, started hiring more staff, more agents. We have continued to hire only virtual military spouses stationed throughout the country, which actually turned out to be really beneficial during COVID, where a lot of people were like, oh my God, what do I do? I had people, other team leads say to me, the staff they're not as productive. And I had a lot of conversations with high producing agents to, trying to save some of these people because they were ready to let go of folks. They're like, they're not producing. And I'm like, are you leading? Right? Like we have to lead these people. They're going through serious change. Kids are at home. They're trying to teach their kids, feed their kids while they're working. And so that was something I felt really grateful to have that opportunity to kind of share our lessons learned. Now we have 10 agents. We have 2 in training. And I believe we have 7 staff who at this point, we're really having them focus even more on nurturing, getting in contact with our past clients, and utilizing social media. So everyone is in it to win it to try to get more business in our market, which is down 40%. So that's where we are now.
I love it. Well, and what's interesting too is you have mentioned a couple of times you don't buy leads, right? It's all organic, social media, sphere, past client referrals, that sort of thing. And we have often gotten the question of what's new in lead generation that's going to be the magic pill to get my business up 40% because it's currently going down. So it is interesting that you are still being extremely successful leaning into that sphere and database. Tell us a little bit about your agents and what they're doing philanthropically, or how you get them motivated to bring business to the team and not just look at you and go, where's the business?
Yeah. So I took some notes. I thought that's probably the number one thing that I wanted to kind of share today, of how we have had to make what has been a pretty impactful change on each of the agents. Last year, the year before, leads are just falling on us. It's like, oh my God, how can I get them quickly enough and get as many offers out as possible? And they didn't worry too much about their pipeline. I'm always worried about it. I always have low level anxiety. It doesn't matter where I am. It doesn't matter if I'm sleeping. I'm thinking about how we're going to connect with more people, right? And so that was something in October. We sat our whole team, our agents down, had them review their goals for the rest of the year, for next year, and really commit to their prospecting. Before we set up the whole, we call it the 1-3-5, and they just put it away. So we had to pull it out, take the dust off, and refocus, like really be intentional. And the first thing I will say that we had to do is I felt that I had to tell them how we, the leadership team, were going to make some changes. And a lot of that was around putting a spotlight on what they were doing in terms of bringing the business in and helping them take ownership. There are some language changes that I've been trying to make lately. I try not to say leverage anymore. I try to talk about human beings. I try to say less accountability, because to me, that's almost as triggering as when someone uses red ink to correct something. So I've tried to use the words ownership around my team. Who do you want to be responsible for caring for? We're talking about nurturing. We're talking about reaching out to your community. Who do you want to be responsible for, as opposed to how many, contacts can I keep you accountable to? The language just really invites people in, right? It's kind of disarming. So going back to that October meeting, it was about us talking about how we were going to further invest in the team. A lot of that was about, taking more time with them, investing more time in conversations to help with their conversion. And then asking them what they were going to come to the table with. And so what that has looked like tactically is, one of the things we did was I created a Facebook group just for our agents called SPG3 Dailies, to get into some good habits around being intentional in the morning. Because usually we get up, we look at our phones, we answer the emails, we get caught up, we go show homes, we're writing offers. Where's the prospecting, right? We needed to get those muscles going, strengthened again. So this Facebook group, nothing is required, but what we expect from people is for them to start out the day posting the 3 things that they are going to do to move their business forward. And these are bite-sized things, right? Like today, for instance, and I always try to get in there first. I don't always, but I'll post what I'm doing as well. And today, for instance, I posted scheduling my next book club meetup, scheduling my next 50 and over meetup. I am 41. That is a demographic we're going after. And I have 38 women signed up for that, who I've never met before, who are now going in my database. And then the third thing, this podcast. Those are the three things I was going to do today to help move my business forward. And then others sort of, we kind of encourage each other to do that as well. So everyone sort of does that. That way, at least we know, okay, as long as I got that done, I feel good. I can sort of be reactive the rest of the day. Now, as they have set up their 1-3-5s, there are certain things that they've committed to for doing each week. That may look like I'm going to hold an open house each week. I'm going to post on Facebook 15 times this week. I'm going to have, an event for 10 people or more. It doesn't have to be expensive. It could be just, hey, let's all meet up for coffee. I'm going to do that once a month. So what happens on our Monday meetings, we have a meeting every Monday from 10 a.m. until 11 or 11:30. It's via Zoom. One of the things that we spend no more than 5 minutes on is my executive assistant will pull up this spreadsheet. It has all of our agents' names on it, and it has all of their commitments and it just keeps replicating itself. And she asked them, did you get this done? And they say, yes, yes, yes. Almost always, yes, yes, yes. Because it's public ownership, right? It goes green and they don't want it to go red. So, that is happening for anyone. This is something we've instituted just over the last 6 weeks. For anyone who hits all of those for the entire month, your name goes into this. It's basically an opportunity for you to play our Agent Jeopardy at the end of the month, where you can win some kind of prize if you answer the questions first and correctly. And one of the things that I noticed, I think I talked about in here, greater ownership. We need to be investing more in our people, getting back in touch. What can we do? I'm always asking myself, what else can I do to better connect with my team and inspire them to keep moving forward? So when I see everyone's going green, green, green now for 4 or 5 months, I'm like, could they do more? So that is a question that now my executive assistant who meets with them, I don't meet with my agents every week. I do when I feel like things are getting challenging with anyone, like they're having a rough time, then I'll reach out and call. But my executive assistant now for years, she's the one who handles those coaching calls. She is tasked now with asking, all right, what do you think about maybe doing, 50% more with this task, and making it fun? I think that's another piece of it. We are having more team meetups. I'm trying to think abundantly. We are definitely not going to sell as many homes as we sold last year, and I'm kind of come to terms with it. I'm still looking for business every single day, investing in my team every single day. And I realize the market is down 40%. I have to be realistic that this was a crazy market. Again, that doesn't slow me down, but I'm just accepting that we're probably not going to finish at the same. And yet I don't want people to get down. And so I told my husband, we can afford to spend $10,000 on something for our team. If we could spend $10,000 on a client event, could we do this for our team? So we haven't figured out exactly what we're doing yet, but I'm thinking maybe we'll rent a house in Puerto Rico. They just have to get themselves there. So I don't want it to feel like scarcity. I don't want it to feel like that around our virtual office. So thinking about those kind of things and thinking abundantly. We all did pretty well last year. Is there any money left that we could invest for this year to kind of pump people up? So that's kind of where we are.
I love that. So a couple of things from what you just shared with your meetings, you said via Zoom. Do you have office space and are there expectations around attending or coming to the office?
No, and no.
Yeah. I love too the piece where you said the 3 things that they want to do today. And you and I had spoke about this in Inman, and you mentioned, I said to you, well, how do you hold them accountable to those 3 things? And what did you say?
If they are not doing those things and they're weekly, they're not getting leads.
See, I love it. And that's part of it, right? We're encouraging them to go fish and be given fish at the same time. So I love that. And then the 3 dailies too. I know you had mentioned in the past that, again, it's about ownership and them publicly telling their colleagues what they're going to be doing. And at some point it's integrity. So there's not really that need to follow up on, Sheena, did you book those two things and how did the podcast go? It's more of a, here's what I said I was going to do. And it's up to us to have ownership in it. And I love that variation in terminology for people. Cause like you said, accountability, I always say accountability is not a bad word, but when they hear it, they're like, eek, accountability, why? So I got called the accountability police yesterday for the record.
The worst thing to be called.
And I know you mentioned too, many reached out to you for lessons in leading a virtual team. So if you could think of one key lesson that you've learned for those that are still working in virtual environments, what would that be?
The biggest thing I would say that we had to figure out was time audit. When you start to feel like you're going, okay, like here are the triggers for me. I'm not getting responses at the level of consistency that I would expect from this person, or they seem a little short with me, or I'm starting to hear that they're not happy or something like that. If I'm starting to get some negative energy or things are not happening when I think they should happen, or I hear them say something like, you'll often hear this by somebody who's just starting in a virtual and they've never done it before. They're like, I'm always working. And then when I have the conversation with them, I started getting curiosity and I say, okay, what did your day look like yesterday? And what I usually find is they get up, they've checked their email, they're helping their kids, they're doing their laundry, they're taking their kids here, and then they're working for a few hours. And it's all these things. They're always working in some part of the day, and at night, because they've spent so much time doing all the things at home because they're not used to being home, they're working at night and they're working later hours than they ever have. And they feel like they're working all the time. But when we get down to it, oftentimes they're not even working a 40-hour week. And I'm not really a stickler for 40 hours or fit. I don't care as long as you get your job done. But inevitably, it's about just remember, especially because a lot of people who run teams are entrepreneurial, they're dominant personalities, they're kind of just disciplined, they know how to focus on the priorities. That's not how most people are. If you read the book Surrounded by Idiots, which is an amazing book that goes deep into DISC, most people are green, or an S. They're steady, right? They're kind of just going along with what's happening. They want that ownership. We can call it accountability. They need the structure. They need a little bit more structure. So even if you're the kind of person who's like, oh God, don't bring that structure over here. I got it. I'm going to do what needs to be done. Other people do need that, and they will need your leadership on that. And so how you can help them with that, the biggest thing I say to them is just put the things that you need to get done in your calendar. You don't have to have your entire schedule booked out, but like, okay, you know that you're going to have to post, like our staff, a lot of times they're tasked with posting on our Facebook groups. So put in all the times that you need to post. Put in the amount, like if you're nurturing for 2 hours, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, just put it on your calendar. As long as you get those things done, you're probably going to get your job done and you can go live your life. So that's the biggest thing I would say.
I love it. Bill, what questions do you have for Sheena?
Yeah, Sheena, just picking up on a few things, and some of this we covered when you were with our Board of Advisors group, is scarcity versus abundance. You spoke on this just a second ago from a mindset standpoint for you, and also a little bit about the growth trajectory of the team. So feel free to take this any direction you'd like to go, scarcity versus abundance and how that shows up in your life and in your business.
Yeah, thank you. That's a really great question, and something I feel like I need to remind myself of as soon as I start to, I think you got to spend some time reflecting on things, right? And I used to be the kind of person, I'm like, oh God, I always need to be on the phone when I'm in the car, because God forbid I have like what is it called? A thought that causes you to confront your own self, introspective, causes you to be introspective. But I've gotten a little more comfortable with myself. And I think I talked about this in a recent conversation with somebody, and talk about abundance, scarcity, that sort of thing. It drives us, whatever mindset we're in, whatever behaviors we've gotten used to. So I think being in constant movement, constant change, and often reflecting on yourself, even if it means like spending a little bit of time writing every day, I think can be really helpful, because you realize that we do get stuck. And I think about what got us from a place of maybe selling under 100 homes to getting to 200, 300 homes. A lot of that was around what I was digesting. And then, it showed up in my life. I was focusing a lot on business books, how to build my business, how to build my business. And I continued that probably longer than I should have, while my business kind of imploded. And I had a lot of challenges until I realized, oh my God, it's me, I'm the problem. So I realized I needed to change myself. So I started reading more books on behavior, on psychology, trying to figure myself out and trying to better understand people, trying to become a better listener. And that changed everything. Once I started digesting that and actually implementing that, again, being more abundant, right? I think letting your ego lead the way is a scarcity mindset thing, right? So once I realized, I can't just tell everybody what to do all the time and they're going to do it, because I think it's about leaning into other people, what their motivations are. And that to me is abundance, trying to help other people live their best lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Fantastic. What are some things that you're focused on right now? Near-term stuff for the team.
Yeah. So good question. One of the things there's that trip I need to plan or figure out what that's going to look like, probably closer to the end of the year. For the last 3 years, we have actually done like an all expense paid vacation to Puerto Rico for our staff, because they've never met each other, right? Like only on Zoom. So from all over the country, they come and they go and they enjoy themselves. So that's pretty special. So probably both of those trips I need to work on. Upcoming, we have a challenge every quarter. We started that this year, where we typically break our agents into 2 teams and they compete against each other it's something like, bring the most people to an event, right? Something like that. And then they win like a dinner at a really bougie place in DC, right? So, this time I decided I want to kick this up into gear. We have that coming up, and I'm like, maybe we could do more. I saw that this other program was doing contact 1,000 people in a month. Who can get to 1,000 people, right? And at some point talk about real estate. And I thought that sounds awesome. I brought it to my husband and he was like, 1,000 is a lot to ask. So we're going to do 500, because it's not something that our team's used to doing. So, and it's like in your sphere, right? We're not cold calling. It's just like people in your world. So the plan is going to be over August, we're going to splitting the team. I am going to lead one of the teams, which is new, but I'm getting in there and I'm competing against our highest producing agent, who sold 25 million last year. She's super competitive, super high D. I cannot wait. All trash talk will be encouraged. Playing dirty. If you want to call somebody else's mom about real estate, you go for it. Like we are in it to win it. So we're splitting the team, 5 agents against 5 agents by the end of August. What is our threat? I think every team member has to hit 500 now. And if both sides, everyone in the team hits 500, they all get to go to this fancy dinner. The team that if you tie, the team that gets more also gets a boat ride with a full bar. So that is our August plan. And I think it's going to be great, because it's going to be the team members holding each other accountable and wanting to win against their frenemies on the other side. So that's what we're working on.
Yeah, that's great. Nice stuff. Debbie, anything you want to follow up with Sheena on that?
Yeah, several books you've mentioned reading and shifting what type of book you're reading. I know you're a very avid reader. You can follow Sheena on Goodreads. She'll send you lists from time to time if you're searching for something new. Give us just a short list. I know we've publicized your favorite books from when you shared with Board of Advisors. So you have mentioned several to us, but share your favorite books and what we should go read if we haven't.
Sure, thanks. And I'm sure many of you have heard of some of these. And just to let you know, if you do see me posting on Facebook, like today, like I just started this one. It's biographical. She's a leader. She works with Hillary Clinton. I guess she's like her chief of staff. I've never heard of her, but I saw the book I visited 3 bookstores yesterday in DC, and that was one that I picked up. I try to get one from every store with my daughter. So High Performance Habits, I'm sure you guys have all heard of it, Brendan Burchard. We usually read that at the top of the year or right before the beginning of a year, but I just feel like we need a little bit of inspiration. So we're reading that as our next quarter book for my team. How Good Humans Sell is a really short book. It's 100 pages. Catherine something wrote it. And that's a really good book for helping people get out of the fear mindset around asking for business. It says this, which I think is really powerful. The 2 reasons that people won't ask for business is 1, they don't have enough confidence in themselves. They think that it's like imposter syndrome, or they don't feel like they have the skill set to ask. And then 2, or to service that person, or 2, they feel like they're bothering that person. So it helps to get over those 2 limiting beliefs, which at least I've experienced, that is what people are most fearful about. Who Not How is such an amazing book. We were just talking about that for really focusing on humans and who else can do this. Like, my time is worth $350 an hour. Should I be doing this $20 an hour work? No, that is not, like, when we're leading, we should be constantly thinking like, am I working on things that really put me in my flow, that are going to give this team the biggest bang for their buck? So that's another great book. If I read anything else recently that was really great, Predictable Success. Have you guys read that one? Yeah, I like that book too. I think it kind of speaks to the different phases of business and what it takes to get to that point of predictable success. The books that I've focused on, that I sort of talking about psychology wise, is Just Listen. That was one of the best books I've read about just shutting up and listening, and why that's so important, right? How it shows people that you care about them. And then, another book someone reminded me, I think it's a Ryan Holiday book. It's called The Ego is the Enemy. That's right. I keep calling it The Ego is the Way, and that's his other, but no, but that's not it. He wrote another book called The Obstacle is the Way, but The Ego is the Enemy, which I think is really great as you're building a team, and especially if you have that concern of bringing on like a high producing agent or somebody who's got a similar like high D personality. Don't be afraid of those people. Like, as long as they're giving and they do have the capacity for humility, you should not be afraid of somebody who could take your place one day. So those are a few of the books that I'd recommend now.
I love it. Yes. Thank you for sharing.
Something that we didn't talk to you about in preparation for this, and you're very light on your feet, so I'll be curious to see where you go from this. Consider this to be the surprise question of the hour. How do you want to be remembered?
That is a really good question, and I do spend time thinking about that. I think I want to be remembered as someone who cared about other people. I mean, I think it's that simple, that I want people to have in their minds, like, you have money, give it away, give it away, give it away, give it away, give it away. I think as I've been able to get into different rooms with different people who others might say are successful, and I think we have everyone has a different definition of what that means. I think in America, the more money you have, that's like the definition of success. Funny enough, it seems so obvious, but in other countries, that's not how people consider, success is, how many people have you taken responsibility for, right? So I like to think about that and what my options are for that. I've sat at tables, dinners with other top agents, and most of them didn't come from a lot of money, just like me. And it's like, what are you going to do with this money? And a lot of people say, I'm going to make sure my kids are all set up. And I just think, I say to them, your kids have watched you for years building things. They've watched you be generous. They've watched you be kind. They've watched you lead people. And they probably lived in a pretty sweet neighborhood. For me, I feel like I've given my kids the world already. They have everything they need to just fly. And so my money is not going to my kids. My money is going to a trust, a charity that I did say I wasn't going to start a charity. Eventually I will. That's what I'm going to leave. And my kids are going to manage that, but they have everything that they need. So I think, I think maybe to be remembered for thinking kind of differently about how money can be utilized and the kind of legacy that you can leave your kids. And it doesn't have to be leaving them money. Well, leaving them money to use as they please.
Sure. Sure. Thank you for that. It's going to be fun as we all continue to stay in touch as we're building our businesses and chasing our own pursuits, how these things develop for all of us. So thanks for that, Sheena. And Debbie, anything else you have for Sheena before we wrap up?
Well, I just have one quick question because all of our viewers and listeners are eager to learn what areas specifically do you serve if we have referrals and want to send them to you?
Sure, thank you. So we cover the whole DC metro area and portions of the Baltimore area. So that means the city of DC, which is a diamond, and then Maryland and Virginia, which is right outside of it. So if you just think those areas, we're here and we would be honored to help and take great care, and we will make a donation to your favorite charity upon closing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. And Sheena, if anybody who's listening would like to get involved either in person or via some charitable contributions, what would be the easiest way for them to do that, please?
Thank you. You know what? They can email me at Sheena@SaydamProperties.com. They can find me on Facebook, Sheena Burton Saydam. The easiest way to follow me is on Instagram at selling_DC, although someone else handles that. So I'm a little slow on messages, just a heads up.
Yeah. Awesome. Let's leave the group with one final note from you, Sheena, a thought, an action item, a pearl of wisdom from your vast experience. What would you like to leave them with, please?
Thank you. You know what? I think kind of what we were talking about earlier, I would just reiterate that is something that, I'm going through my own journey on this, but every time I start to get a little bit kind of that negative energy around, gosh, why isn't my team performing? I'm not thinking about I used to be like this person, let me see their numbers. What's going on? I am still inspecting that. But the first thing I ask that's my first emotional response. And the second response is, whoa, okay, what can I do? And so what does that look like? Do I need to envision another event? Do I need to put another event on? Do I need to look at those numbers and figure out who I need to go have coffee with on our team and just see what's going on in their lives? What do they need to hear to push things, to move things forward? I have a newer agent on our team. She's really good at getting like multi-million-dollar people to talk, like clients to talk to her. She's brand new, but she's like, I have $3 million opportunity, 2 million. It's like, even for this area, that's a lot of money. And so that's something special that she has, but she hasn't been able to get anybody under buyer agency. And so what she, I think, needed to hear was, you have everything you need to service these people, because the confidence just wasn't there to secure them. So I have made a point that I am meeting with her every week to remind her of her potential and what she could become and who she is already. So I think taking ownership and really digging into that, I think is really critical. And the way to think about that is get more relational with your people. So that's what I'm working on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Sheena, for your time, your thoughts, and the impact that you've had on everybody today. Debbie, thanks for co-hosting as always. Thank you, everybody, for checking us out on another edition of Thought Leader Friday. And until next time, be elite.
Bye.